It all started off as a beautiful snowy road trip to my cabin up north to close it up for winter. I had just raised up the suspension before I left, and the Sportwagen was handling the snowy conditions excellently, and I was having fun from time to time getting a little sideways. The road getting back to the cabin generally is pretty uneventful, but can be a bit dicey depending on the type of traffic it's recently received. My main goal, given the amount of snow that was falling, was just to not get stuck since I didn't have anybody with me and there's really no one around the cabin to help me out. And that's when I made it to the cabin just fine. Actually, it was pretty uneventful. But when I opened the door to the cabin, there was water everywhere and a pipe had recently burst, so I had to immediately turn around and head about 25 minutes away to the closest hardware store to pick up a shop vac to vacuum up all the water. I made it to the hardware store just fine, but on my way back, I decided to take a slightly different route to the cabin, as the way I was going to go was typically less traveled and in better condition, and boy was I wrong. In a successful attempt to pass a deceivingly large hole in the road that was full of snow, mud, and ice, I successfully left it behind, but I also successfully left behind my front splitter, parts of my lower front grille, and half of a fender liner, not to mention my pride. So in today's video, we're going to be assessing the damage to the Sportwagen and determining how I can move forward and get things back to normal. Amidst all this destruction, I almost forgot to mention that today's video is sponsored by Dada Workshop. If you haven't had a chance to check out Dada Workshop, head on over to dadabuilt.com and check out their line of apparel specific to wagon enthusiasts. One of my favorites is this wagon jargon crew neck. It also comes in a tee, and they also carry a full line of apparel specific to the Dad Wagon YouTube channel. Alright, I'm just playing. This video is not sponsored by Dada Workshop. Well, I guess maybe it kind of is. I run Dada Workshop, and it's something I've put together to feature some designs I've been working on specific to wagons and also to create some apparel for the channel. So if you have a second, go check it out. So now let's head out to the garage and take a look at the front end and see how much I actually destroyed. Sorry, without taking anything off, you can see that we obviously lost the front splitter, cracked in two, as I showed with some photos. Can't really tell from here just yet, but I got most of the stuff back together, but the headlight or the fog lights are definitely recessed more than they should be right now. There's something going on with the fender liner here as well. It's kind of bent in. It's being compressed. Everything else, actually there's some separation over here on this side as well. That needs to be addressed. Everything's just not fitting together inside the front bumper properly right now. This is the passenger side and where the fog light gets held in place. Kind of like that. And obviously the bracket is normally connected something like this over here, and it's pinched inside of the, man, I might have it backwards. Yeah, I have it backwards right now. Something like that. But it obviously cracked here, and here, and down here. So that's what holds the fog in. This one on this side seems to be in good condition. However, the frame of it overall came out of the bumper, and it looks like there might be a little bit of damage to it as well. So we'll take that apart and see in a second. So taking a look up front at the radiator and intercooler, you can see there's some pretty clear damage to the bottom of the intercooler, and even more so to the radiator itself. Radiator is just in pretty rough shape. So, all these fairings on the front seem to have some pretty good damage on them. There's a crack Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of filming at the same time here, but there's a crack in the, we'll say, frame of the intercooler and radiator housing. The intercooled piping seems to be on there fairly decent. Over here there's a pretty good bend on the front of the skid plate. That can probably be fixed. The real issue here though is a lot of these clips that normally hold this in place have been torn out of that front bumper piece, so the support on this ain't so hot right now. So far underneath, the skid plate seems to be doing its job. Everything back here seems to be protected fairly well. I don't see any cracks or any leaks. Looking at the suspension, not seeing anything out of place right now. On the skid plate itself, you can see where it's ripped out. So those two I unscrewed. This one's ripped out. All three on this side are ripped out. And then lastly, you can see here where the fender liner, the bottom half, is just completely ripped in half. So that was kind of a long exploration with me of figuring out exactly what was wrong with the car. And now, after reviewing the videos that you guys just watched too, I was kind of able to make a quick hitter list of what actually I think definitely needs to be replaced, and there's probably a few things on here that would be nice to have as well. But that being the front lip spoiler, which is the piece of plastic that goes from the core support to the front of the front bumper. The center grill, because the lower grill and the top grill are part of the same piece on the GTI front bumper. We're going to need 2 lower fender liners, 2 air ducts that go on the core support that help feed air through the intercooler, as well as the condenser and radiator. If I'm doing things 100% the right way, I should be replacing that radiator core support, so that plastic frame that had the big crack in it. I might, at least even temporarily, try to either epoxy or bond that back together in the short term and potentially replace that entire piece, just because it is so important. But it's also a really big job. If you saw me do the intercooler video install, it's like doing that all over again and some. And then finally, replacing the splitter. It's not a must-have, but it was an ad that I really enjoyed when I installed it on the car the first time, and I want to get the car looking as close to what it did before I really screwed up. So you know, it sucks to go back and look at this video and specifically look at the image of the pothole or the hole that I ran into, because there's other ways around it, and I could have just stopped and gone another way. I just didn't think the outcome would be as bad as it was. And when you're doing a build channel, you're always thinking about what's next, and you know what the next thing you're going to install is. Where right now I have to take a step back and fix these things, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop making build videos in this time either, or modification videos. Our friends over at B2B Fab have already hooked us up with something we were after, so you'll probably be seeing that in the next video. But with the time that remains in the year, you probably won't see it until next year. So the last thing I'll say is, 1, thanks for watching this video, and 2, if you've been watching the channel all along, thank you for such an amazing year for our YouTube channel. It's still super small. I have plans for how I want to grow it. I am considering new projects and new builds very soon, but this year alone, YouTube sent me the little wrap up that they do, and I think this channel alone for the Dad Wagon had like over 300,000 minutes of videos watched throughout this year, which is just an insane amount and number. So again, thanks all of you. Always, if you like the content, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like, and I will see you in the new year very soon with some new content. So thanks again, and talk to you soon.